I could not be consoled. And I thought, I've been to the promised land, and now I got to come on back here. This isn't good. Back to the wilderness. I was like, And I'm a Texan, like, if you could have made it in the music business in Texas, I'd still be there. But I was like, no, I have to get up there. And so that man, he wouldn't interview me for that job without meeting him, and I couldn't go back up there. And so one day I was at my job, and I went home at lunch. And I never did that. I always went to my grandmother's house for lunch, but I went home that day. And I started hollering at the Lord. And I said, look, if you want me to do that, you have that man call me and offer me that job over the phone. That's the only way it can happen. Ring. My landline rang, and I was like, and so I picked up the phone and I said, hello, and that man said, look, I'll just give you the job. Just come up here. And I went, what? And he said, just come up here. Can you be here in 2 weeks? I went, yeah. And then I really started crying because I had to tell Mama and them I was leaving, and that boss that I was working for. So then, next thing I knew, I packed up my stuff and I put it all in I had a Chevrolet Caprice Classic. Y'all remember those cars? That sucker rode like a sofa with wheels, man. It was awesome. Suspension is like reverb for cars. And so that thing rode like a Cadillac. And so I got in that thing, and my friends helped me stuff everything in there, and I rented one of those the tiniest U-Haul you can get and hook behind a car. I could get my whole apartment in there, except for one thing. I could not get my ironing board in there, Wells. And no Texas girl is without her ironing board. I almost brought one up here. And I said, what are we going to do? And my friend said, we can't get it in. We can't get another thing in. I said, strap it to the back. And so they strapped it to the back of that U-Haul. And so my granddad had put my granddad was a truck driver towards the end of his life, and he put a CB radio in that car for me. And he said, now, baby, them truckers will take care of you getting to Nashville. He said, you start talking to them, and he said, they'll take care of you. That was the day, different type of trucker. And he said, you start talking to those truckers, they'll take care of you. I said, all right. So when I hit Arkansas, I was doing about 105 in that Chevrolet, hauling it. And this trucker that had been talking to me said, hey, come on back and talk to me. And I didn't know who he was talking to. He said, come on back and talk to me, ironing board. I said, all right. I said, what you got? He said, listen, you better slow that ironing board down, because the next second there's a smoky scene and he's waiting on you, because the one in Texarkana already told him about you. So I slowed down when I hit that exit, and I just waved at him. He just gave me the peace sign. And he gave me the peace sign, and he went, there's another one right up the road. So I slowed it down until I got towards Memphis, and then I hammered it well. So
you made it.
I didn't care then. I was in Tennessee.
How did you first get into writers' rooms and start writing with other people?
Well, there's a place in town called the Bluebird Cafe, and everybody wants to play there. Everybody always does want to play there, and you have to audition to get in. And I was game to audition too. But I went and started listening to people, and I auditioned for that. You audition on a Sunday, and then if the panel likes you, they'll put you on the Monday night open mic thing, and you get to play 2 songs. Well, I couldn't even hardly play guitar, and so I hired these 2 friends of mine for a Waffle House lunch to come and play guitar for me. And so they said, well, if you're going to audition, we'll audition too. And so they auditioned, and I auditioned too, and I made it and they didn't make it. So then I had to hire them to play for me at the Monday night thing. But when I was there playing on the open mic, there was a gentleman there named Max T. Barnes. And he saw me playing, and he was having big Randy Travis hits. And he wrote Before You Kill Us All and all that stuff. Really great guy. And he said, hey, why don't you come play with me at this little show I'm doing downtown Nashville? And I said, okay, I'm in. That was fast. And he said, come on down here. And so it was this little place called the Silver Dollar Saloon. And it's the Hard Rock Hotel gift shop. It's a little 2-story tiny building. First, it's right down on the river. First 2-story building in Nashville. And upstairs was this little tiny bar, and in the corner was a tiny little stage, like a little triangle. We could both barely get on it, and my little guitar picker had to stand on the floor. And it was it might have been a biker bar. I'm not sure. But it was teeny. And we were standing there, and we did this little show. And it was jam-packed because there was a woman named Linda Davis was doing the next bit of it. Y'all remember Linda Davis? She was wonderful. Sang with Reba forever. Well, Linda was playing, and there was a man and a woman sitting there, and they just looked like they were really enjoying everything I was doing. And so I was really, this is good. I've got the crowd in the palm of my hand. And so it came time for Linda to play, and I stepped out and went downstairs on the sidewalk, Wells, to just get some air for a minute. Because they had that little joint jammed with people. I bet there was 50, 60 people in there in a room that holds about 35. And so I go down on the sidewalk, and here comes this man and his wife, this older gentleman, big shock of silver hair, wonderful looking man, and he's standing there talking, he's smoking, and I stand there, and I'm, y'all can tell I'm shy. And so I started talking to him like I'm the hostess of Nashville, and I said, well, are y'all having a good time in Nashville? And he looked at his wife, and she looked at him, and they started laughing. He goes, yeah, I'm having a good time. I said, oh, is that right? I said, well, you've been seeing the sights? He said, yeah, I've been seeing the sights. And I said, oh, that's good. I said, they had those award show last night out at the Opry. Did you get to go? And he looks at his wife and goes, yeah, we got to go. And right about then is when I went, oh, boy. And I said, did you have a good seat at that show? He goes, mm-hmm. I said, where did you sit? He said, third row center on the floor. And I went, right by the stage, did you? And he goes, yep. And I go, were you up for an award? And he goes, sure was. I said, which one did you win? He said, Song of the Year. It was Max D. Barnes, and he won it for Chiseled in Stone. Y'all remember that Vern Gosdin song? And so he was a Hall of Fame songwriter. He instantly became my champion and started signing one-off songs, $100 a song from me, and putting in a little catalog he had. Then he took me around and introduced me to some publishing, helped me get my first publishing deal.
How did it go from there after you got your first publishing deal?
They say that Nashville is a 5-year town, a 10-year town. A 5-year town, if you don't have a publishing deal in 5 years, you're not a songwriter. If you don't have a record deal in 10 years, you're not a singer. Now that has kind of changed a little bit with the internet and things have advanced, because you got TikTokers getting signed in 6 minutes. So, but then in 6 minutes they're gone too. So sorry. But anyway, I was kind of worried about that. I got my publishing deal. I'm like, holy cow! I've been here, 3 years. I've been here 2 years or whatever. Well, I got my publishing deal, and I started sweating because I was thinking, if I don't get a cut in 3 years, I'm not a writer. On the 3-year mark, I started getting cuts, and Sarah Evans cut my first song. Susie Luxinger cut my first song. That's Reba's sister. She cut my first song, and then Sarah cut one that she put on a record, and then it just started snowballing, Wells. And it was God. It was not me. It was God. And I was just really, really blessed that I would get a song cut on an album, but I would get multiple songs cut. I would get 2 or 3 cuts. And that was kind of unheard of. And I wasn't getting big singles on the radio, but I was getting so many cuts on the albums, it was paying like that because albums were still selling. And so I was doing good, and I was getting noticed, and that was kind of moving me up in the ranks to be able to write with bigger writers. But I also would spend a lot of time in the clubs in Nashville meeting those writers, listening to them, trying to write songs like they were writing, trying to outwrite what they were writing. I just kept throwing myself against the wall, seeing what would stick until it did, And so then at 10 years, I got my record deal right on the money, so I got to stay with us.
Yeah, highly competitive.
It's super competitive still, in a different kind of way now. It's such a technical thing now with computers and tracks and all that kind of stuff. We were learning each other and learning the players, that the studio players, learning how to work with studio players. Build your record on your computer now. You don't even have to work with a player. So, or learn studio etiquette or any stuff. I encourage people to do that, because if you don't know those things when you do get in the studio and you misspeak to a guitar player and hurt their feelings, that can go bad for your project.
Yeah. So like specifically, what kind of etiquette should you look out for if you're going into the studio?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So someone wanted me to, I wrote for Sony for a long time, for 14 years, and they really wanted to encourage me to be a producer. Now, I tried producing. That's a giant babysitting job, and I didn't realize that. I never did like babysitting when I was a kid, and I didn't like it when I was a producer. So I said, I tried it, though, because they wanted to break a female producer in Nashville. There hadn't been one yet at that time. And so I get this kid who's a great singer, and I mean boss. He's good looking. He's a UPS delivery man, so he's keen to, work hard because he wants to get off a UPS truck. And I took him into this studio where Brooks and Dunn cuts their records, Trisha Yearwood. I mean, it's called Sound Emporium, and it's a very famous studio in Nashville. We took him in to cut sides that they call, I can't remember the term right now, but they're just demonstration sides to show to record labels, almost like demos. Like, listen to this kid, he's really good, he's not signed yet, would you be interested? So it's like that. But they're super important because it's a calling card for you. And if you mess them up, I mean, sometimes you only get one shot at that. Sometimes you get multiple shots, but sometimes you only get one shot. And so you're really doing your best work. Well, I had taken this guy in with me to this studio, and there's a lounge in the front part of it, and we're recording in this famous studio with really famous players. And I had cued him on that, and I was like, these guys are famous. This guy played on Linda Ronstadt's records. You know Blue Bayou, the steel guitar? The guy playing on your sides, he played that. And I said, this bass player, he did this. This drummer, he's on the road with, blah, blah. And I was trying to cue this guy because he didn't know anybody. And so he was doing okay, Wells, till about lunch break, right? And his folks show up, his dad and mom from Kentucky. Nothing against Kentucky, but it was their first time in town. And so he sort of starts feeling his oats. He was some tall cotton in front of his daddy, and so this is a big old tall boy too, and he saw that fellow with the good looking hat, and he stretches out on this couch in this lounge. And first of all, I'm like, no, don't stretch out. No, let's stand up. You stand up, if anything. And if you sit down and someone comes in, you stand up and introduce yourself. Take your damn hat off. And I'm from Texas. And introduce yourself, right? And so he stretched out on the couch. Sorry for cussing, Lord. And in the door comes Ronnie Dunn and his producer. And Ronnie walks in, and I stand up like that. Okay, I've never even had a Brooks and Dunn cut. But Ronnie knew me, and I knew him. And I said, Ronnie, I said, so great to see you. I said, are you all working here in the big room? Because we were working in the B room. He said, yeah, we are, Leslie. And I said, gosh, I said, that's going to be a great record, I know. And I said, so good to see you. And his producer standing there. And Hoss is still stretched out on the couch. And he's just looking at Ronnie Dunn like, I'm the new dog in town. And Ronnie Dunn is not shy either. And so he's standing there, and he looks down, and he looks at him, and he goes, who's he? And I go, he's the cat I'm producing, new guy. And Ronnie goes like this, he goes, and walks off. He just shrugged his shoulders laughing. I was like, grrr. Boy, I went in there. I told him, I said, man, if you don't get up off that couch, I'm going to get in my car, and good luck. I'm telling you right now. And so when we got in there, we finished the sides and everything. He goes, boy, this is going to be great, isn't it? I said, yeah, good luck. And he said, what do you mean? I said, you're on your own, Hoss. And he said, what? And I said, if you won't stand up for a guy who's just won his 8th duo of the year at the CMAs, I don't reckon you'll stand up for anybody. And so I'm done. And I wish you the best of luck. Here's your sides. Bye-bye. You know where he is? He's delivering pizza. Just saying. Gotta be a gentleman. Gotta be a gentleman.
Well, when you had that, your first cut recorded, was that the best that you've ever had recorded? The feeling?
The feeling was amazing.
Yeah.
The feeling of having legends cut your songs goes to a different level. Because when somebody who is a legend requests one of your songs and says, bring me some Leslie Satcher songs, that's a new feeling. That's a new deal.
Like George Strait?
Like George Strait, like Martina McBride, like Trisha Yearwood, like Reba McEntire. When those people request your music, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So,
can you tell us a little bit about Troubadour?
Troubadour, I was writing with my friend Monty Holmes, who it was our first writing appointment. And Monty's had a couple of hits on George Strait already. He wrote, I know she still loves me, but I don't think she likes me anymore. Remember that Strait hit? Such a great song. Monty wrote that. A couple of other things. He'd been around a little longer than me. He's a wonderful writer, a wonderful singer, wonderful guy. Love Texas boy. And we had met at a round at the Bluebird. And he said, hey, we want to write a song together? And I said, I'd love to. So we were set up to write on this Tuesday. And on Monday, I was in Tony Brown's office pitching songs for Brooks and Dunn. They were cutting a record. Tony was producing. And he asked me to bring him some songs. And I never pitch songs. I let the Sony guys do that because I'm not good at it. Because when they would say no to a song, everything shows on my face. Y'all know me now, you know. And I was like, I would be like, what? Why are you turning that down? It's like they're killing your kid right in front of you. You know, I'm like, no. And you can't be like that. You have to have a poker face and go, oh, okay, well, if you don't like that one, how about this one? You know, I couldn't do that game, so I wasn't good at it, so I let Sony do it. But this particular day, for some reason, I was getting my wind in my sails. I thought, I'll go pitch to Tony because he's a friend of mine. So I get over there, and Tony is about as tall as this microphone stand. He played with Elvis. He played keys for Elvis, so he has seen it all. and twice, naked. And he said, I would pitch him a song, he'd go, no. And he was brutal, and he's my friend. No. And I'd be like, oh. And so finally, I'm so dejected, I'm just sitting there, and I go, well, I got nothing else, Tony. And he goes, well, go write me something for George. And I went, okay, yes, sir. Just say yes. And I said, sure, yes. And I said, what are you looking for George? And this was in 2007. And he said, well, everybody thinks George is retiring and that he's quitting. He's not. He's out there. He's still doing it. He still feels young. He's out there doing it. He's not retiring. I need something like that. I said, all right. So the next day I was writing with Monty, first time, and he smokes Swisher Sweet cigars. You know them little cigars? He has black, scruffy Stetson on. He's all kicked back with his feet. He goes, all right, baby sister, what are we going to write? So, he's such a character. He's like Foghorn Leghorn. And I said, well, Tony Brown asked us to write something for George. All right, what are we going to write for George? And I said, well, I was thinking, how about something like this? And I did this right here, and I go, I still feel 25 most of the time. And Monty goes, I still raise a little Cain with the boys. And I said, honky tonks on city limits. Monty goes, man, I'm still right there in home. And it just went like that, line for line. 15 minutes we had the first verse, and we hit the chorus, and he goes, well, what are we gonna say now? And I said, I swear to y'all, this happened. The Lord Jesus knows I'm telling the truth. I was in room 2, the writing room at Sony, and right in my ear I could feel it, like someone whispers on your ear and you feel it, their breath. I felt Troubadour. And I looked at Monty, and George is a huge fan of the Texas Troubadour, Ernest Tubb, huge fan, and they call him the Texas Troubadour. And I said, how do you like the word troubadour? And he goes, I love it. And so I go, sometimes I feel like, Monty goes, sometimes I feel like Jesse James, still trying to make a name. And I said, knowing nothing's gonna change what I am. Was a young troubadour. He said I was a young troubadour, and I said, when I wrote it on a song, Monty goes, I'll be an old troubadour when I'm gone. Just like that. Just like that. So, it was a complete and total God moment. God gave us that song that fast. We had it done in 40 minutes. Put it down. Monty is an incredible singer and a stylist. He sings a lot like George. We went in and demoed it probably the next couple weeks. Monty sang it. We took it and straight to Irv's office, George's office. We took it to MCA. We took it to Tony. We got no from their people. Now these days they tell us we never heard it, but their people said no. So a friend of mine named Janie West, who is a song plugger in Nashville. She's a person that takes songs around. She's an independent song plugger. She works for songwriters. You pay her to take your songs and play them, she does. Well, she had heard that song, and she didn't own any of the publishing. She had no game in it at all. And she was down in the keys playing songs for George before he was about to record. And he was kind of turning down this and that. And she goes, George, have you heard that song Troubadour? And he goes, What song Troubadour? Now bear in mind, we pitched it to his record label, his publishing company, his management company, everything. He goes, no, I hadn't heard that song. She goes, I got a copy of it right here. Now she's not my song plugger. I'm not paying her nothing. And she goes, listen to this. And she played it for him on a boat, and he goes, just a minute. And he picked up the phone, he called his office in Nashville, and there's a woman there named Dottie. She's his secretary, a real famous woman for being George's secretary. He said, Dottie, that's George. There's a song called Troubadour over Sony. Put that on hold for me. She said, yes, sir. And that's how it went down. Friends.
Was that the quickest that a song has ever come to you?
No. My very first cut that I wrote that got cut, there was a real famous producer that was downstairs listening to my songs. I was a new writer. And I was making the classic mistake that new writers make. I was writing a song with, 4 verses, 3 choruses, 2 bridges, an anti-bridge, sub-chorus, 6 tags, and add another verse. They were 8 minutes long. I was really feeling my oats. And this guy said, he told my publisher, he said, if that girl will write me a song with 2 verses and a chorus, I'll cut them all day long. And so she came up and told me that, and it made me mad. And I said, oh, he will. Well, we'll just see. And so she left, and I started working on this song. I can't even know if I remember. There's a key in a letter unopened, buried back in an old dresser drawer. And I can't remember the rest of it, but that just came out to me. And I wrote this verse about this key that's in a letter that's sealed shut, and this wife finds it. And she realizes it's like a love letter and there's a key in it. So she realizes he had the opportunity to cheat on her, but he never opened it. So she realizes this letter's unopened. Now she's at the moment of what should she do? She puts it back in the drawer and shuts the drawer. She doesn't open it either. So she never knows who it was or nothing, but she realizes he loved her enough not to open it. She loves him not. So it was 2 verses and 1 chorus. And my publisher took it and played it for that guy, and he cut it the next week on Sarah Evans. It's fast, about 30 minutes.
Do you think their songs are just hanging out there?
Yes, I do. But I think you have to be willing to accept what God wants to give you. And I think we try to tell him all the time what we need to write, what we want to say. And he just sits there. I know he does with me. I believe he just sits there and waits on me and goes, when you shut up, I'm going to give you something good. And he does. And he doesn't say it like that. He might. He might be half texting himself. But he gives me songs when I just get still. And I just wait and go, okay, I'm going to get still enough to listen for this and go for it. And sometimes young writers are so, and I made it too. It's a classic mistake of chasing what's hot, chasing the radio, chasing a vocal sound, chasing a rhythm. And I'll write my song in that beat right there. Well, that beat's been written. How about you make up a new one? Or how about you go back to something that worked 300 times? So every young writer tries to push the train, when in reality, if you're a Christian like I am, if you just, punch your ticket and get on the train, you get to ride to Red Lodge, Montana.
Would you want to play Troubadour for us?
Sure, I'll play it right now.
All right.
Not stilted like that. Joanna's guitar's tuned down and half set, God bless her. Y'all, it's altitude up here. I still feel 25 most of the time. I still raise a little Cain with the boys. Honky tonks on city limits. Man, I'm still right there in 'em, singing above the crowd and the noise. Sometimes I feel like Jesse James, still trying to make a name, knowing nothing's gonna change what I am. I was a young troubadour when I wrote in on a song. I'll be an old troubadour when I'm gone. Well, the truth about a mirror, it's a dang old mirror. No, it never really tells the whole truth. It don't show what's deep inside. It don't read between the lines, and it's really no reflection of my youth. Sometimes I feel like Jesse James, still trying to make a name, knowing nothing's gonna change what I am. I was a young troubadour when I wrote in on a song. I'll be an old troubadour when I'm gone. Yeah, I was a young troubadour when I wrote in on a song. I'll be an old troubadour when I'm gone. God bless George Strait.
That's all I got for you.
That's all you got for me?
Unless you want to keep going.
I talk too much. No, but I will take a question if somebody would like to ask a question. Make a question? Well, y'all are so
Where
quiet.
can we see you next? Where are you going to be?
Well, if there's any money involved, I'll be sitting on this corner right out here playing. My husband's gonna turn his ball cap up. Y'all put $1 in it. I'll keep playing. No, I'm playing tonight at the Civic Center. I'm not sure which show, if I'm the first show or the second show, but we're flipping it. So if you're at either one of those shows or both those shows, I'll be at one of those shows, and then we're going to some other club, which I don't know what it is. Do you know, Davey?
I think it's the Roman Theater.
Roman Theater.
The Roman Theater. Yeah.
The Roman Theater. There you go. That's where I'm gonna be. I told y'all.
All right, big hand of applause
Thank
for
you so
Leslie
much.
Satcher.
God bless you. Thank you, Joanna Smith. It was great to talk.